Welcome back to Casual EDH. This is Chris, and today we are going to be opening up Commander Legends Baldur's Gate. Honestly, I don't feel like it was a bad set by any means. I just think that when it has the Commander Legends name attached to it, kind of expect more out of it than get. Because when you realize the original Commander Legends set had like Vampiric Tutor, Jewel Lotus, Scroll Rack, things like that, you just had a lot of really powerful, very good Commander staples with a few new cards. And then this one was just all new cards. It's almost like Adventures for the Forgotten Realms 2.0. If you take it as a standalone set, get rid of the name and just think about the cards in it, it's really not that bad. And actually quite a few cards in it have been going up lately. Something like the White Plume Adventurer. Now, I had actually opened these before I created the channel. I have videos where I recorded about opening up a couple of these. They turned out very poorly. I decided just to scrap those entirely. They were not salvageable. Unlike my recent ones where I've had to do some dubbing, they were salvageable with the dubbing. Those ones, the video quality was just awful. Which is unfortunate, because I actually thought I was not going to be able to go back to these. However, due to the recent Black Friday sales and the fact that Amazon and Wizards need to chuck product, because who knew if you print too much product in a year, people won't buy it, I was able to get a couple good deals. So this is just kind of the resurgence of that. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pop these open. I'm going to talk about some of the cards. We'll see if we can just have some fun with some Magic cards here. These boxes are so shiny, by the way. Also helps that my light is like... so these are 12 boosters a box. They made a few changes here and there, so I'm going to have to just double check here. Yep, 6 per stack. So yeah, so I'm going to just try and opening up all of them. If the video starts going too long, I might just stop at 6. Ooh, these ones are, these ones have the rough packs. That's not going to focus. They have really rough glue. Oh, these have very rough glue. We had problems with this with the Crimson Vows sets. I don't remember when I opened up my Commander Legends that they had this issue. My other ones. So let's pop this open. This might be a short video. Alright, so that is something that we would expect to have. A little beat up, though. That's a little concerning. What do we got here? We got our foils, we got our Forest, Dungeon Delver, Traverse the Outlands, Nafashi, Wrathful Red, Raphael, Minsk and Boo. So if you're ever worried about a product being a reseal with Wizards, and maybe that's what this video is actually going to be about, so there is one factory where they just go weird and hardcore on the glue. Like they just do an awful job. If you take a look, they have like loops down here, so instead of being completely attached to where it should be, they have some like loops. If you see in here, it just feels super weirdly crimped, and you can actually see some like striations in there. I had opened it with a knife, X-Acto knife. The glue is just really awful. So I was worried for a second this might be a repack. Now the thing is, this happened with Crimson Vow too. So it can happen at the factories. But if someone was doing a repack, they're not going to put a Minsk and Boo in here. There's plenty of bad mythics that they could have put in here instead to make it look more natural. They wouldn't actually include a Minsk and Boo because this has been, it's been going up lately. The other thing is, too, these are also direct from Amazon, so they should be drop shipping directly from the Wizards of the Coast warehouse. That's one of the things that's a positive for these. So, just a few things to keep in mind. All in all, though, this, other than the Minsk and Boo, there wasn't really a whole lot of exciting stuff here. The Minsk and Boo has been seeing more play in, I think it's Legacy that's been seeing it. Pretty sure it's Legacy. It's not Vintage. So I don't really see him as in the Commander community a lot. Monster Manual is interesting. So I'm just going to put Monster Manual down here so it's not direct light. Might be a little bit easier to read. But basically, it is an adventure card. You can cast it for its a sorcery, which is mill 5 cards and return a creature card you milled to your hand. And then its artifact side, which is 4 mana, has 2 in tap. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So that's kind of like a Elvish Piper type effect. If you're playing a lot of really big things, dragons, dinosaurs, whatnot, and you want to have another Elvish Piper type effect, this can be really good, especially since it's on artifact. Elvish Piper is very prone for removal. And Monster Manual, not so much. It does cost a little bit more to activate, though. So there is that. I'm just going to put these cards here, these cards here. So what happened the other time I opened these two was before I started signing the cards. So I also didn't have any cards signed for that, so I'll do that with this one as well. I think, just from how long this is already going, I think this is going to end up being 4 videos. So I think I'm just going to do 6 per video, especially since the booster packs are a little bit harder to open. So we'll just see what we get. Nimblewright Schematic. So I kind of like these ones here. When Nimblewright Schematic enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature token. So for anything that sacrifices artifacts for an effect, like in this set they have Jan Jansen, you can get a lot of utility use out of something like that. They also have a whole dragon cycle. Man, these are so shiny. They have an adventure dragon cycle where they have these uncommons that all have an adventure and then, you can cast as an actual dragon. I do like these. I like these. Any of these modal cards are really good. The fact that you can use this as an instant is pretty nice. It's 2 mana for an instant. Creatures you control gain death touch until end of turn, so you can do a surprise combat trick. And then later on in the game, you can have yourself a big old dragon. Nothing wrong with that. Marble Diamond. So they do have the Diamond Cycle back in here. They had these in the original Commander Legends as well. They hadn't been reprinted for a little while before that. They're just 2 mana. They come into play tapped, and they tap for 1 color. So for 2 mana fixers, it's not bad. Blade of Selves. There's something that you see in Commander a lot. It is a artifact equipment. It is 2 mana, and an equipped creature has Myriad. So it just basically makes copies that are tapped and attacking opponents with equip 4. If you have anything that doubles tokens, those tokens will get doubled and be also attacking those opponents. I actually put it into my Geared Conclave Exile deck, because although Geared, the tokens will have legendary, so they will all sacrifice themselves, but they'll still come into play and make your rhinos. So you can get a whole bunch of rhinos that way, which is really nice. Deep Gnome Terramancer. I've seen some people say that cards like this and Archivist of Ogma are kind of like auto-includes in mono-white decks. I think mono-white, maybe. But if you're splash-white, I think it's a good card, but I don't think it's going to be good in every situation. Let's see. Whenever 1 or more lands enter the battlefield under an opponent's control without being played, you may search your library for a Plains card and put that onto the battlefield tapped. Only do it once per turn. So that works for like Rampant Growth, Harrow, things like that. Wand of Wonder, Noble Heritage, Legion Loyalty, and of course foil Battle Angels of Tears. So again, any question about this being a repack is gone. You're not going to see a foil Battle Angels of Tear full art in a repack, because that's also a fairly expensive card. Legion Loyalty, creatures you control have Myriad. That's so good if you get like Conviction, the 6 mana white Anthem with double strike and lifelink. And this, it's hilarious. Battle Angels here has Flying and Myriad. I feel like this booster here was just Myriad creatures, Myriad stuff. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. If that player has more cards in hand than each other player, then if you create a treasure, then you can... I'm sorry. English is my first language, I promise. I'm just really bad at it regardless. Then you create a treasure token. If that player controls more lands than each other player, then you gain 3 life if that player has more life than each other player. So basically, if you are in sole possession of last place, he's a catch-up mechanic for everyone. If you're in first place, he doesn't really do a whole lot. La-di-da-di-da. This will be pack number 3 for the box. Draconic Lore, Shiny Impetus, Meteor Golem. You do see Meteor Golem quite a bit. Still very shiny. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. If you are in colors that don't really do a lot of destroy effects, or you're in blink effects, blink colors, you do see this guy a lot. Yeah, I mean he's been reprinted to death and back. It's not bad. Just, I mean, 7 mana for a destroy effect is a little heavy unless you and I only really recommend if you have no other options or you have ways of cheating it and making it better. All right, so this one here, Guild Artisan. Commander creatures you own have, whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, you create 2 treasure tokens. So if you have aggressive commanders, or you have commanders that people are unlikely to block, this is a really good background. I recommended it to a friend for their Prosper deck, because he's a 1/4 Death Touch, and most people are just going to let the 1 damage through because, you know, it's Death Touch. And so you can get a lot of treasure tokens with that, and since that's a very treasure-centric token deck, he can do a lot of play off of it. Obviously, if it's Zorn out or Goldspan Dragon out, something that utilizes, either creates additional treasure tokens or utilizes them to greater efficiency, this card gets better. It's only 2 mana for an enchantment, and it's really good. Just really good. Alright, so we have Minthara, Merciless Soul, Ravenloft Adventurer, Bothersome Quasit, Eldritch Pact, Asterion the Decadent, Nero Wildmage. I've seen someone play a Nero Wildmage deck recently, and that was pretty funny. Basically, whenever you cast a spell, you may put it to the bottom of its owner's library. If you do reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost, then put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in random order. This only triggers once each turn. So if you have a lot of things that you can cast for cheaply on opponents' turns, you can expect to get some fairly large things. It's randomized. It's kind of like Polymorph, but if you have effects like Scroll Rack that lets you rearrange the top of your deck, that can be really strong. The Council of 4. I literally know no one who likes that card. If you do like that card, please let me know, because I would like to know at least one person who likes that card. Alright, so I'm going to open this pack, but, like, the cards in there actually kind of suck. Like, this got super shrink-wrapped. Again, like, you can see the packing quality here. You can see where this loops. I mean, these are actual, you know, these are from Wizards. These are not repacks, but, man, whichever warehouse, or whichever factory prints these, they just, I feel like they need to have a little bit more oversight. You mean a tavern? Ooh, Nature's Lore. I'm going to consider this like a Nature's Lore as a pseudo rare. Just because it's not reprinted very often. It's a common, uncommon, depending on the printing, that tends to keep a lot of value. This can be like a $6 or $7 card sometimes. It's just 2 mana. Search your deck for a forest card, put into onto the battlefield. If you have not seen my land ramp video, which is on this channel at the time of this recording, I'll talk more about why this is a really good card. So I do recommend you watch that if you have any interest in that kind of thing. Now we're back to the island. Stone Speaker Crystal, 4 mana, add 2 tap, sack, exile a number of target players' graveyards. Draw a card. Alright. Graveyard hate. Not bad. Elderbrain, I've tried using Elderbrain before. So Elderbrain is a 6/6 for 7 with Menace, and it has, when it attacks the player, exile all cards from that player's hand. Then they draw that many cards. You may play lands and cast spells from among the exile cards for as long as they remain exiled. If you cast a spell this way, you may spend mana as though or mana of any color to cast it. So basically, you exile someone's hand, and then you have access to it for the rest of the game as additional cards. It's really nice. 7 mana for a 6/6 is a little rough. I play it in a Henzi deck, or I had played it in a Henzi deck. So I was getting cost reductions. It would only get 1 attack off, but that's really kind of all you need. Alright. Cerebox Tome, Furbulk Flutus. Jaheira, Friend of the Forest. This is a card that I'm surprised has not gone up more. It's 3 mana for a 2/3. It is a green creature, so it can only go in green decks. Tokens you control have tap, add green. That's it. So it doesn't specify creature tokens. So you can use this with any kind of token. If you're playing like a Merkle deck and he starts making all of your creatures into enchantments, those enchantments are tokens. So they tap for green. If you have Academy Manufacture out and you create a clue, a treasure, or a food token, then you create all 3 of them, which means you now have 3 tokens all tap for green. This means you can use treasure tokens in a way that you don't have to sacrifice them afterwards. It's so good. I have a feeling that this is a card that will see more play once people kind of get back around to this set. Nothing to really end out that pack. It's a Raphael and a Bale. So the problem with this set is there was so much stuff going on when it came out. It was just kind of went under the radar for a lot of people, and because it wasn't as strong as the original Commander Legends, because it wasn't really in the same vein as that set, people just weren't very excited about it. I think there's a lot of cards that were overlooked, and that's why you sometimes see spikes for these cards, because people go back and go, oh my gosh, that card, right? The other problem is, like, I'm literally less than a month after this set came out, Double Masters 2022 came out, and that set was the bomb. That set was so good. So it's like, it just got overshadowed so hard. Yeah, it was just ridiculous. I don't like a lot of these D&D manual style, like, art style cards. I don't think they translated to Magic cards very well. But I do like the Lightning Bolt one, and Lightning Bolt is always a nice card. You don't see in Commander much. I mean, 1 mana to do 3 damage to a target is, like, okay. There's so much more you could be doing in Commander. But it is still a really nice reprint in general, and I do actually like this art. So having one of these in foil is nice. And hey, I was talking about Miracle just a minute ago, so let's go, or Merkle. I actually don't know how you pronounce that, but so let's talk about him a little bit more here, because I have one. So he is 7 mana for a 7/5. As long as your life total is less than or equal to half your starting total, it has Indestructible. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's an enchantment and loses all other card types, which means it loses the creature type. So I just want to let you know that if you take effects that are on creatures and then make them onto non-creatures, you get some weird, janky, broken crap. So I think most people have probably noted things like Devoted Druid, Order of White Clay, or is it Order of White Clay? Or Barrington Medic, maybe. I think it's Barrington Medic. And then there's also, I think, Cinder Haze Witch. Oh, man. Anyways, so there's a green, a white, and a black, which this is Abzan, so you do have to do it in those colors. And they're uncommons from the Lorwyn block. And they basically have, you can tap them for an effect, and then you can untap them by putting a -1/-1 counter on them. As an enchantment, you can still put -1/-1 counters on, they just don't do anything because they don't have a power and toughness because they're not creatures, which means you can get infinite of that effect. Devoted Druid gives you green mana, so you can get infinite green mana just by making it into an enchantment. The Medic gives you prevents infinite damage, and the other one will make your opponents discard infinite cards, I believe. Yeah, so good, like so good. All right, so we have a Brainstealer Dragon, which is from one of the precon decks. It's from the horror precon deck. Captain, what's his name? Captain Illithid. Bane, Lord of Darkness is my etched. Gale, Waterdeep Prodigy, and Call to the Void, full extended art foil. Yeah, nothing too exciting there. One more for this video. Because this is going a little bit slower than I thought it was going to. Maybe I'm just talking more than I thought I was going to. If you have not realized by now, I just love hearing myself talk. I think it's fun. I have a lot of things to say. Ingenious Artillerist. This is really good. This is one that kind of flew... this is a common that flew under a lot of people's radar. If you have a set that people really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to, then commons in that set are the things that get paid the least attention to. Ingenious Artillerist has whenever one or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control, Ingenious Artillerist deals that much damage to each opponent. So this is basically like a Reckless Fireweaver effect. So if you're playing Artifact Aristocrats, which again, they are supporting a sub-theme of this because they have cards like Jan Jansen in this deck, who is a notable commander for the set, as far as, you know, they wanted to make sure that there was going to be support in the pools for him. This just adds on to those decks. Like this is basically a second aristocrat card for that deck. So really good. Nothing wrong with it at all. All right. So let's see. You're confronted by robbers, predatory impetus, contraband livestock, candlekeep inspiration, swampy. So I know a lot of people like these flavor text lands. I'm not personally too excited by them. I do like some of the art that's on them. So I do like the D&D art, like when they start going full fantasy art mode on them instead of the D&D like book of art. I just wish that they had these in like full art. I don't personally care about the flavor text that much. I just don't like losing like a third of the card for like 2 lines of text. So yeah, I've actually just sell these. So if you're looking for them, you can find them online. I mean, every seller sells them. You can definitely find them. So if that's something that you're interested in. We have OG, the Exquisite Blade, Dragon Cultist, Cultist of the Absolute. So this one, I remember there being a lot of talking about this before the set came out. I don't know if it's lived up to expectations. I don't know anyone local to me who really plays this. But it's a 1-mana background that has Chimera creatures you own get +3/+3, have Flying Death Touch, and Ward, pay 3 life. But they also get, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. So this really can super power a commander. So if you're going for a really aggressive build, maybe something like a Layla. And I'm going to come back to her a lot, because whenever you have an enchantment that works for her, I mention her. Especially in black, because there aren't as many black enchanter decks. So she's kind of the poster child for that as far as I'm concerned. But this just makes them just that much stronger, that much more deadly. Giving Ward 3 is really good. But you have to be able to sacrifice creatures, and that's why I'm like, oh, that might be okay in a Layla, because you can generate creatures to sacrifice pretty easily. But then again, she also already has Flying and Death Touch, so all she really gets is +3/+3 and Ward, pay 3 life, so like I said, I've heard a bit about it. I just haven't really seen anyone play it. Ooh, Battlefield Promenade. Okay, so this is the Battle Bond lands. They reprinted them in this set, and I'm surprised that people just don't talk about them more. These are amazing. They enter the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. So this one taps for green and white. They have all the allied colors in here. There's 5 of them. There's 5 allied colors in here. And these are great for Commander, because in Commander, you're typically going to have 2 or more opponents. These are just really bad in one-on-one situations and endgame when your opponents are dropping. There's nothing wrong with these lands. These are really good Commander lands. They're really well designed, and they should do more with them. And people should talk about them more, and they should probably be more expensive, because there's really not that many on the market. Elondo the Seer. So I'm not going to be able to show it here. But this card looks wonky, not gonna lie. There is something about this card that doesn't look quite right with the border. It's like it's like a slightly wrong color. I don't know. It's not gonna show up in this particular camera. I'm gonna have to look at that later. And we end with an Illithid Harvester. Yeah. So that is video 1. I'm actually going to pick up immediately after this. So I'm gonna end this video, take a quick break, come back, open up the other 6. So I'm actually going to leave all this stuff right here. If you're still watching, thank you so much. If you have not, I do recommend liking the video. I do recommend subscribing to the channel. And if you want updates, ring the bell. Yeah, that's right. I just became a complete sellout. Sorry, y'all. You have a good one.